An Australian-designed device is set to revolutionise mobility for spinal injury victims after its launch at a World Medical Congress in Chicago next week. Called a Walkabout, it was invented by a Gold Coast man in conjunction with doctors from Brisbane's Princess Alexandra Hospital. Today Show reporter Karen Milliner has this first look at the device that offers freedom to many people who thought they'd be forced to spend the rest of their lives in a wheelchair.
The main breakthrough was to enable something to let them walk without it being obvious.
Bruno Terlingen, who'd been fitted 4 years ago with the imported Parawalker device, was the first to try out the new Aussie Walkabout. Now he rarely leaves home without it.
I feel confident in being able to stand up like this and talking to you. I can also go in later on and go with the girls and chop the vegetables, read the newspaper on the bench and feel good within myself, being able to stand up like today. I've been teaching all day, sitting in a wheelchair, bending over all day, and it's nice to be able to stretch out. It's just nice.
I think that this is the most challenging and thrilling thing that I've ever done. I think the evidence of this is when you see the look on the children's face when they've walked for the very first time, the spina bifida kids.
Normally, you know, you're a spinally injured person, you're bound to their wheelchair for the rest of their life, and that need not necessarily be so at all. I don't think it'll ever take the wheelchair away as a primary mode of transport, but it can get quite close to it.
Karen Milliner reporting.
This is Channel 7 Eyewitness News with Joel Daly and Linda Yu, Jerry Taft with weather, Jim Rose on sports, and the Eyewitness News team.
More than 2,000 experts in the field of biomedical engineering from 50 countries are in Chicago this week to learn about the latest in technology at the 7th World Congress of the International Society for Prosthetics and Orthotics. Channel 7's Marianne Childers visited the meeting and joins us now with more in Medicine Today. Marianne.
It's sort of a trade show of sorts, but not your typical trade show. This is a conference that combines science, medicine, engineering, and design. But the focus is not only on high technology, but on human concerns as well. New inventions that may improve the lives of thousands of disabled people. The challenge is to restore not lost limbs, but lost function. An Australian team developed this device, which enables paraplegics to stand and walk unaided. It attaches to a lightweight brace system. When a person moves the upper body slightly forward, it helps the opposite leg swing through like a pendulum. The first person to use it was 31-year-old Ralph Beckett, who was paralyzed from the chest down in a motorcycle accident 11 years ago.
It's just great to stand up and look everyone eyeball to eyeball again.
You may recall a recent Today Show story on the Walkabout, a remarkable device invented by a Gold Coast man that is a real breakthrough for paraplegics and other spinal injury victims. Since the story went to air, the Walkabout has been a big hit at an international medical conference in America. The Walkabout has just made quite an impression at the International Congress of Orthotics and Prosthesis in Chicago. And joining us now to discuss the future of this breakthrough device are Walkabout's inventor, Stuart Mackay, and the head of the spinal unit at Royal North Shore Hospital in Sydney, Dr. John Yeo. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Stuart,
Good morning,
if I can start with you, where did all this come from?
Liz, a couple of years ago I saw something on television where some paraplegics could be helped to walk by using a frame, an external frame. I guess I was intrigued by this, and I followed it through, and being involved in Polymedic, our furniture company, which is all plastic, I felt that because it was so big and cumbersome and heavy, I could perhaps make something out of plastic. But of course, when I looked further into it, and I discovered that perhaps there was a better way of doing it. Because I think paraplegics basically don't want to look any different to anybody else, and I worked on a different principle totally, which enabled us to completely conceal the unit. So I think cosmesis was the main reason that I was looking at doing something.
Well, indeed, that is probably one of the big features of the Walkabout, is that it can be concealed, but it's more than that, it works.
Well, I think what had happened once we got it to be concealed, we were very lucky in that there was a lot of spin-offs from this. It enabled them to free up the percentage of the body which was useful to them. They are now able to use that perhaps only 1/3 of their body and not encompass that part of the body. So really it has enabled them to drive motor cars, to be quite active and look just like you and me, and I think that's the key to it.
Yeah, Dr. John Yeo, dealing with paraplegic spinal injury patients every day, is this a breakthrough device from your opinion?
Yes, it is, Liz. Stuart was kind enough to ask me to come up and have a look at it some weeks ago before they went overseas, and I went up wondering what we were going to see, and it was really exciting to find a piece of simple Australian-made equipment that was going to work. And as you said, Stuart knows very well, we had a very interesting and happy time up there.
Indeed, we are talking about a freedom, are we not, that's never been able to be achieved before?
This is right. You see, all the equipment we've used up till now, as Stuart was saying, is sort of rather, it was cumbersome, it was obvious, it was limited in what it could do. Patients would say, oh, gee, I don't want to look like that, I don't want to look like a robot. But Stuart and his team have come up with a very simple device which clips onto the 2 long leg calipers that almost any hospital can make. And there you've got people who are paralysed who can now stand and indeed walk for distances, some of them uphill even, as well as downhill. And although there are limitations to it, I mean, it doesn't work for everybody. We must be careful about that. And everybody's got to be assessed. But as I'm sure Stuart would say, this is something very exciting. And I understand, Stuart, you had a very good reception in Chicago recently.
I think as a result of this, it's going to be we're going to be inundated, and I'm very excited to think that not only we're able to get paraplegics up and walking, but we can keep it in Australia. I think everybody was shocked to think that something like this would come out of Australia and not England, Japan, Europe or America.
Yes, you're going to manufacture it here in Australia, which of course is good news for us as well. But before we go, Dr. Yeo, you will be using it, you say, for those patients who can make use of it?
Yes, indeed. I mean, we see it as being something that might well be used very commonly now to help paraplegics stand. But we've got to assess everybody, and even some quadriplegics possibly. So it's an exciting move, Liz. We're very pleased that Stuart and the team have gone ahead with that, and we're looking forward to going ahead as soon as Stuart can let us have the device. We're right into it, Stuart, and we're looking forward to working with the Queensland group. It's
a great news story. It's good to be able to bring some good news for a change. Stuart, I do thank you very much for your time this morning, and Dr. Yeo, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You might remember in June last year we brought you the story of the Walkabout, the revolutionary device invented by a Queensland company which helps paraplegics and other spinal injury victims to stand up and walk about. Now that story drew an extraordinary response, and we're pleased to report that the Walkabout is now in use in hospitals in Brisbane and in Sydney. And furthermore, it'll be exported soon to the United States after getting Federal Drug Administration approval. The Today Show's reporter Karen Milliner caught up again with the Walkabout's inventor Stuart Mackay and some of the patients who he's helped find their feet again.
When you eventually get over the dizziness, it's just great. It just feels like it was before.
Quadriplegic Sharon Patterson has progressed from the parallel bars to crutches and is starting to test her mobility with simple tasks around the home.
You got to work at it. You got to put the time in, otherwise you get nowhere.
For Shane Pryor, the victim of a motocross accident, the Walkabout is also making a world of difference.
My wife gets a little emotional. She loves to see me standing, and my daughter, she looks at me and just thinking, gee, who's that? I don't know this guy, he's standing up. She looks and comes and tugs on my legs and looks up at me.
We've got to look at the quality of life. That's always important. Doesn't matter what piece of equipment you design. It's the patient who says ultimately, this is for me.
The unit's medical director, neurosurgeon Dr. John Yeo, has begun an 18-month study to assess the Walkabout's psychological and physical benefits.
When you're paralysed and sitting all day, every day, your bones tend to dissolve out calcium in those paralysed limbs. So what we're looking forward to saying is that when you're upright and you're walking with this device, that the actual calcium will be retained in the bones and they'll be stronger.
Just 2 years ago, Fiona Cook was living life to the full. Gymnastics, aerobics, you name it, Fiona was doing it. But overnight, a rare virus, transverse myelitis, robbed her of mobility. She became a quadriplegic. 2 years later, Fiona has regained some feeling in her arms, but she's still bound to a wheelchair until today.
Just make sure your heel's right down the bottom, it's the most important. Okay? Right into the bottom there, and then be able to get your shoe on easier.
Okay, yep.
Orthotist Rod Scherger is fitting a device that will change Fiona's life once more. It won't restore feeling in her legs, but eventually it will allow her to move, to stand up with her friends and family, perhaps even to walk down the aisle at her wedding next year.
You're up.
I'm up.
Steady yourself.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Good?
Yep, feels great.
Very good. A little bit more graceful next time, eh?
Yeah, a bit more graceful.
The steps may be halting, the progress slow, but to a paraplegic, it's a godsend. Fiona, can you describe how it feels? I mean, what's it like to be standing up here?
It's great. You know, as I said before, I can see eye to eye with people, and you feel better. You know, obviously, you know, physically everything's working a lot better, a lot more efficiently. So, yeah, it feels great. It feels really good.
Imagine if you were wheelchair bound, how much your attitude towards life and others' attitudes towards you would change if you could stand up and walk. Well, for many people who are paralysed due to spinal injuries, that is now possible. Thanks not to a miracle, but to a miraculously simple invention that's changing people's lives.
It's not as easy, and it's never going to be as easy as walking as if you're an able-bodied person. You're completely cured. But with practice, you do get better, and it gets easier and easier.
This is the sort of device that Ralph is wearing underneath his clothing. And this bit here is the Walkabout. Basically, it's a hinge bolted to the inside of a set of calipers or splints, which are in turn strapped to the leg. So how does it work? Well, if I put my finger underneath the fulcrum of the hinge here, I can show you. As the body pushes forward, the hinge allows each leg to swing like a pendulum in the forward direction. Now you'll notice that the hinge is set in a V shape. That's done deliberately so that the legs can't get tangled up with each other. And there's another important safety feature built into the Walkabout. On either side here is a locking mechanism which secures the hinge to the caliper. Now, if, for example, you wanted to get into a car, then you can undo one side by releasing the lock and pressing down, and the caliper comes away. And all that can be done quite easily without any assistance.
The Walkabout will never replace the wheelchair as the most efficient means of getting around. And it's not suitable for all paralysed patients. But it does make a huge difference to lifestyle. With the Walkabout, Ralph can live a much fuller social life. He's able to meet friends and talk to them at their level. With the calipers locked and the Walkabout taking the strain, Ralph can stand up like this for several hours without feeling dizzy or any discomfort.
So socially, it's made a big difference. It's made a big difference in the fact that you're there standing and you're like an able-body, like everyone else. You're not a paralysed person, you're not just a fellow sitting in the corner in the wheelchair. You're completely free of your wheelchair and, in a sense, you're free of your disability.
There are other devices which enable people with spinal cord injuries to be able to stand and walk. But they've been designed by medical specialists for therapeutic purposes, and so they tend to be cumbersome and look unattractive. This is the first such device which has been designed to meet the psychological and lifestyle needs of the physically disabled. And as it turns out, the Walkabout is proving to be medically beneficial as well.
It's being trialled with a number of children born with spina bifida. Once a fortnight, 3-year-old Trent comes for physiotherapy at the Royal Brisbane Children's Hospital. His is a moderate case of spina bifida, which means he has no muscle power below the knees. Without any form of support, his only means of movement is to crawl. But with a set of calipers and a specially adapted children's version of the Walkabout, he's been upwardly mobile for the past 5 months.
It's boosted his confidence up quite a bit because he knows when he can get up and go, he's, you know, I can get up and walk now, Mum. You don't want that.
And according to Trent's physiotherapist, that's what it's all about. providing him with the confidence and freedom to explore his environment, allowing him to use his hands more, and generally to live a life as similar as possible to other children. In Trent's case, he looks pretty unstoppable.
People otherwise left in wheelchairs now have the potential to stand for several hours.
Maintenance around the house, washing my car, standing up, reaching the top shelf.
While I was here, I had people to watch me, but once I learnt it and that, I can walk around the house with practically no fear of falling.
Mowing the lawn even, sort of using the lawnmower as a frame.
With a worldwide patent pending, the spinal unit of the Royal Rehabilitation Centre is refining the device, and doctors feel it will be 3 years before it's perfected.
You've got a device here that would help people to walk in many countries around the world. Unless you walk, there is no life for you outside of a hospital. So this is going to be a very important part of getting back home.
The Walkabout device has been approved by Japanese and American medical authorities, and Japanese doctors are keen to see it used.
In Japan, near future, we have many Walkabout patients. Because of it's an excellent idea.
It's not the complete answer, but good news for the 10,000 paraplegics in Australia. Matthew Carney, SBS News.
In 1988, Bruno Terlingen became a paraplegic after a motorcycle accident. With limited mobility and sensation, he had come to terms with spending the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Well, miracles can happen.
As we'll see in just a minute, innovation, lateral thought, particularly clever mechanical engineering, have come together to overcome just about every prognosis that the medical profession has given. Bruno Terlingen can walk again, thanks to Walkabout.
Identify the 2 locking pins.
Walkabout is a set of hinged steel mini legs attached to calipers or leg braces. It's estimated that up to 20% of paraplegics and some quadriplegics can benefit from this Australian invention, which has astounded the medical profession. Bruno discovered Walkabout after an article he saw in the local newspaper.
I contacted students saying, hey, look, I'm your man. I'm willing to help you pilot this new device that you're willing to develop. And from there on, we've taken it to where it is now.
The function of the Walkabout is to allow paraplegics, crippled from as high as the upper chest, to stand upright and by tipping their shoulders forward, to walk. This is how it's done.
There's now time to actually fit the Walkabout device. Click it in, make sure it is firmly locked in position. Identify the other 2 pins, lock it in position, and also make sure that it's locked. And then it's a matter of lifting up with your calipers. And we can easily balance. We'll start taking our first steps for today.
Whenever you're ready, Shem. Yep. Yep. Shem, before you go too far, can I just take just a close-up just with you standing there? Alrighty. Okay, alright, and just away in your own time. Yeah, if you just come straight back again, Deb. Yeah, thank you. Now, I'll just get you to do a sit down again, Shem, so I can just sort of get that as well, if you don't mind.
How am I supposed to go over, Mum, with the cup? You'll work it out. Probably drop the cup. I'm actually on the cup rug mat. Yeah. Yeah. Might be easier. Go along the kitchen units if it's easier. You can wash up as well, look. See, by the time that thing's done, I'll be over there. Now what? I've made a cup of tea, mate. What needs to go in the cup? The thing. Tea bag. Move the water jug back so it's not so much in your way. Handy, that dishwasher, isn't it? Yeah. Definitely. Please. Yeah. So I could put that lower down so it'd be easier. Can't we? How many you want? We could put them lower down for you? Yeah. That can go behind the kettle, that's not a problem. It'd be easier actually if I put the mug tray actually by the kettle as well, and then it's all there, isn't it? Do I need yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. Right, the challenge is not to burn it. How much do you want? Just leave enough space to put some milk in. No, you're going to have to get the milk. Why? Because I can't carry it and I can't reach down there. You can open the fridge. I can open it and can't get it up. See how much you can do. I bet you surprise yourself. I bet I'll drop it. Well, you can use a mop. I wish I could walk with one crutch. Have you tried? No. I don't want to. Where's the milk? How do you expect me to reach that? Can you get there? Go on, try. Seriously, I can't reach down there. Oh, there's some there, so I use that. I can't do it. Alright. Come back near the teapot, I'll get the milk. Ah, it's cool. How much? Enough? Yep. Is there a spoon up there? No, normally there's the cup and the spoon would be there. You're just making me work. I'm just making it harder for you today. What are you going in there? Same to put your tea bag in. Teaspoon? You can. That's going full. bring the cup where you put the tea bag nearer to you. I can't, I'm holding this at the same time. And the cup, what you're going to put the tea bag in, so for me. Leave it on the tea bag thing. That's it. Should I put that in there? Is that too strong? No, it's fine. So I need to get the mug rack down and I need to get the tea and the coffee and the sugar stuff down, yeah? How much would you? Am I done? You sure you don't want a bit more milk in that? No, that's fine. Ta-da! Yeah. Mum, how long have I been in there? Another 5-10 minutes.
You've got to be there at 8:30 for practicing, ready for the next day off. Yep.
Have you worked out yet, Mum?
So stop it, maybe. I'll keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do anyway. So I can get you there for 8:45 if you want. Yeah. Yeah, he said that he knew that one. So we didn't know.
Ollie, move. Oh, what, 220? Huh? Can't count. 40 and 16. That's 56. Oh God, that's high. I think that grows though. I'm going to turn around one of my ears, okay? Yeah. So you can straighten yourself up a bit. Yeah, a little bit. We need to start getting you in your frame and on your belly lot more, don't we? I'm creaking. One out. The chair's just round the corner. Okay. Or your frame, whichever. Think you'd ever see yourself doing that? No. Are you okay? I need help getting down. What you've done is lean forward. You're perfectly in position. As far forward as you can. And then lower. Good girl. Perfect. You've disappeared. There you are.